I don't know how you are, but when I'm flying, I get off of the airplane and I'm going to go to, let's say, a connecting city. When I get off the airplane, I'm sort of kind of half paying attention when I really need to be alert, but I've been on that plane and I'm all stiff. I'm 6 feet tall. So it's not one of those deals where I enjoy flying a lot. I don't fit the seats real perfectly. My legs are too long. That's the problem. And they don't offer any real suggestions. So unfortunately, I get off and then I start looking at the signs and it all sort of goes, and I'm always afraid that I'm going to make that one mistake where I'm like, I get to the wrong boarding gate or whatever and I get on the wrong plane. Like, have you ever had that? Just that angst. And I usually get it the night before the flight. It's never happened. I've never even went to the wrong gate. So it's not a big deal. It's just that pre-flight jitter thing that I go through. I don't know what my body likes to do it. It just does. So when I read this about the airport, I thought, this is bigger than any mistake I've ever made, so it makes all of my quick stuff that I've done feel much better. A United passenger was supposed to fly from Los Angeles to Houston and then on to Nicaragua. Okay. Now, should be a simple trip. It's not hard. We got a domestic leg. We'll bounce in from LA to Houston, and then we'll bounce to Nicaragua, down to Central America. Not a big deal. Now, instead, they boarded the flight that was going from Los Angeles, obviously, to Tokyo. That's not a gate mix-up. It's a continent mix-up. It's a big difference. They said they didn't realize it for 6 hours. I understand getting on a plane and just relaxing a little and letting them do the flying because that's what they get paid to do. But also understand that if you're going from LA for a quick layover in Houston, you should know with really bad math, 4 hours is probably too many. At hour 6, I'd already been in panic mode. And you know, one of them looked out the window and said, you know, I don't remember this much ocean being around Houston. You don't say. Must have rained a lot lately. The next thing you know, you were in Tokyo, 8,000 miles from where you should be. United's all like, yo, we apologize, bro. So we're going to get you some travel credits and some hotel accommodations. We're going to hook you up with some dinner. That's nice. It's nice. And I appreciate that. It's not really travel points and free miles that I need. What I need is a translator, a passport, and maybe some counseling. And I'm going to need a cell phone with a lot of free minutes and numbers and you know, letters and stuff that I can understand. I don't speak this. It's not what I speak. It's an impossibility. Y'all could help me out, that'd be cool. I get that things happen, but the fact that United Airlines apologized, what that tells me is there's a flaw. Something's going on. The buttermilk has ruined. We need to start thinking long term. What happens if this becomes a trend? It's a little bit scary, isn't it? You think about that. Airlines just freestyling your itinerary, raw dogging your vacation, and you're all like, yeah, this is okay. No, it's not. It's not okay. You book one place, you wind up in another. I'm planning for New York City. I got Broadway on my mind, lights, Times Square. I wind up landing, get out the plane, I'm in North Korea. I was thinking Statue of Liberty. Now I got a guy looking at me like, why you got a smile on your face holding a clipboard? That's not Ellis Island. That's why are you here? You need to leave Island. Airlines just up and doing their own itinerary these days. Right, you plan for Paris. You got your bonjour, bonsoir, parlez-vous français. Everything about you is screaming Paris. You land, pilot says, welcome to rural Kazakhstan. Goodbye, Eiffel Tower. Hello, horse with a better posture than you. You gotta stop this now. Airlines can't just pick what I go. This ain't no democracy. I booked a ticket for a reason. I'm trying to go to Hawaii, got all my stuff packed. studying, been trying to learn scuba. I'm going to the beach. I'm pumped about diving. It's Hawaii. Cocktails on my mind. Ukulele music. Everything's pretty. It's freezing back in the U.S. I can't wait to get off the mainland. Next thing I know, welcome to Northern Alaska. Thanks, United. I know it's the same ocean. Different vibe, though, isn't it? Attitude's completely different. Nobody handing you a lei. They're handing you a snow shovel and a look of concern. He's not going to make it here, is he, Maybell? No, he ain't. No, he ain't. Thought he was going to Hawaii. You see the difference? Thought you was going to Vegas, did you? Nuh-uh. United had other plans. You gonna skip out on the slot machines and the dancing and the questionable decisions with women you probably shouldn't be talking to. You're gonna miss all that because United decided you were landing in Salt Lake City, Utah. Yeah, forget gambling, blackjack's out. Now you're drinking herbal tea, talking to some elders about your goals. Airline just making up its own mind. I'm planning on going to Miami. Airlines is all like, yeah, we don't think so. I got linen shorts. I'm ready for Crockett and Tubbs. I'm ready for Miami. Pink flamingos and whatnot. Surprise, welcome to Greenland. Ain't got no salsa music, just a seal judging my outfit, and it's cold. Thanks, United. We act like that's all right, but it ain't. Because that's exactly what happened to the dude that we're talking about. Thought he was going to Nicaragua with palm trees, beaches, warm weather, clapboard houses, questionable at best. 6 hours later, he looks out the window and he's like, hey, when did Mount Fuji get here? That's a heck of a wake-up call, isn't it? It's not a layover now, it's a complete plot twist. We got to redo everything. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, if I book a trip to New York City and the airlines decides that I'm going to land in North Korea, I ain't going to settle for no free travel credits. No, I'm not. Do any of your travel programs offer diplomatic immunity? They need to. I ain't trying to be no Brittany Griner. All I was trying to do was see the Statue of Liberty. Now I'm in a place where even the statues are nervous. I want to be in North Korea. Airlines, you can't make decisions for people. That's not really your gig. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I'm Bud Ford. I like to do comedy. I like to do music. I like to play a little guitar. I'm terrible at it, but I do like to do it. I also get to work with a lot of folks and connect them to their dreams of flying airplanes, so that's kind of fun. This is just a side thing for me because, let's be honest, I work around most people at the school where I work and where I train folks to do stuff. I'm a meteorologist, so I train a lot of folks on weather. They're 20. I'm not. So I can't really have a conversation with those people because they don't talk. They text. And my girl's a little younger than I am. So she also texts a lot. So she was like, you should go back on the stage because I come from the radio and television background. So I said, okay. And then I'm working on the new material and stuff like that. So I want to get back to doing what I do, just having fun with today's news and stories and just kind of putting a Southern spin on it and telling you the world like I see it. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that. And I think that that I saw just the other day, if you're anywhere in my age group, give or take 20 years, it's a big window. What I'm going to say to you next, if you didn't see it, may shock you. But the Eagles may finally be hanging it up completely in 2026. They just booked a few extra shows on that residency tour they're doing at the Sphere. It took me just a minute when I saw it, and it said that Don Henley said it. I didn't really panic. I wasn't really mad or anything. I just started quietly realizing, man, they've been at this a minute, and I don't really know that I'm emotionally prepared for a world where the Eagles aren't touring. I know the situation we're in, but still, it's incredibly good at a high level. I don't know that I'm ready for that. I wasn't ready when we lost Jimmy Buffett. If you think of the band, and my friends and I always talk about this, and I don't know if you ever had this conversation, but it's fun if you're having a few drinks or whatever, sitting around talking. What's your top 5 favorite bands? And it's always interesting because if you're in my group, in my age group, again, give or take what could be 20 years, and the Eagles don't land in there somewhere, or it's actually Eagles. I always say the Eagles, but it's Eagles. If they don't land in there somewhere, at least, even if they're not in the top 5, you have to acknowledge that band's range was unbelievable. They weren't just entertainers, they became landmarks, icons. You can measure parts of your life by their songs. They're historically big. The greatest hits, 1971 to 75, the biggest selling album in American history. Not in country music history, not in rock music history, all of history. They sold a lot of copies. I remember when the CD player first came out, I went down to the store, they were $100 then. You also had to have an amp that you could plug into, or something, a tuner that you could plug. It had to plug into something. It wasn't freestanding, it didn't have its own speakers, and it was absolutely not going to be in your car for a long time. And I remember when it came out, I had to go down, I bought one, I borrowed the money from my parents, and I bought it, and I got it, and I plugged it in. $100 was a lot of money back then because we were making $3.35 an hour, so I had to pay at it till I paid my mom and dad off. But we got this thing and plugged it in, and one of the first, I bought 2 CDs, and they were kind of expensive then, but I bought 2 of them, and the first one I bought was Daryl Hall and John Oates, Rock and Soul Part 1. And then the second one that I bought in that same bundle is the Eagles' greatest hits, 71 to 75. It's an influential album. If you don't own it, check your parents' basement. It's probably there. And if not, take some time and ask your music provider to play it. You'll be glad you did. It's good stuff. The crazy part of how big that album was is that's not even their biggest. Their most famous is going to come after that when they dropped Hotel California. Don't act like you don't remember being on a dark desert highway with cool wind in your hair. You know you can check out, but you can never leave. And don't act like you didn't just hear that guitar riff in your head either. Oh, you know you heard it. That's what I'm talking about. That's big. That's not just, oh, I know that song. I can feel that song. That's a ghost story that I can dance to. Who else does that? It's the Eagles. Most bands known for an era, right? Maybe just a period of time. Like when you think of America, you kind of put, okay, that band lands here. When you think of The Who, they land, you could kind of picture where they are. When you think of Queen, well, they kind of crossed into a couple of decades. Are we talking Another One Bites the Dust, Queen? Because that's mid-'80s. But If We Are the Champions, that's earlier. So you got to kind of start putting in windows. But when you look at the Eagles, how do you do that? Because they go across a lot of windows. Early 70s, Take It Easy. You're already singing it, so am I. Peaceful, Easy Feeling. Best of My Love. And that was soft music. That was laid back. You're driving down a 2-lane road, windows down, no real destination. You got plenty of gas money. You're feeling good kind of music. They're going to turn around next and they're going to hit you with Life in the Fast Lane. They've been up and down the highway, haven't seen a doggone thing. Life in the Fast Lane may be as good as it gets. So we go from giving you the best of my love to Life in the Fast Lane. I'm intentionally not trying to sound like that because I don't want the algorithm to cut it. But that's a heck of a switch, right? Then to Hotel California. Then I'll never forget, I was in my house, we listened to country music. If it wasn't hillbilly music, we didn't listen to it. So I grew up, that's not true because we had 50s and 60s too. But because of how I grew up and where I grew up, my parents listened to country. So it is pretty popular down in the Southeast, as you might imagine. So really, pop wasn't a choice. But in that same era, we were beginning to get television shows like Hee Haw. We were also going to get shows like Solid Gold, which is revolutionary in my household because they come on the same night. So now we only have one TV. Well, there's no question we're watching Hee Haw. When we got a second TV, it felt almost personal to them when I got up and went down the hall and started watching Solid Gold. But before that, I'll never forget, I had a AM radio. I lived in Charleston, South Carolina, and it was a white AM radio from the real early 70s. The only radio station that it would pick up, if I recall correctly, the numbers and the dial and all that, I believe it was 1390 WCSC. Charleston. And they played pop, but remember, pop was really sort of a blend of country. And later on, those songs, a lot of the Eagles songs, will go on to become a safe country format that will go, it'll last a few years, and finally someone will go, yeah, we either going to do hillbilly music or we ain't going to do hillbilly music, and it goes away. But the long run, I'll never forget, I was laying on my bed and the guy was like, and the next tide change in the Charleston Harbor is at 6:18. You're listening to 1390 WCSC. And then you hear, bump, bump. You know how it sort of skip started and then it started and then you're in the long run? And I used to hurry a lot, worry a lot or whatever, stay out till the break of day. And I thought to myself, now that's not country, which was weird in my house because that's what my alarm was set on for some reason because it was on AM side. And I thought, that's the coolest song I may have ever heard. So then I started listening to it when I wasn't inside, and I got a radio and I listened outside, and my parents still, probably still thought I was listening to country, but it wasn't. I was listening to the Eagles, and I was starting to listen to rock at that time, which was interesting. And then the Solid Gold show comes on. One of my first memories of that show is not the Eagles. It's John Mellencamp. And I got a really cool Mellencamp story. But I don't want to mix that in with the Eagles. So I was talking about the songs that they made super famous and how they could just switch gears on you. So we went from that nice leisurely ride down the road. We shifted to Life in the Fast Lane, Hotel California in the long run. Now we're not on the country road anymore, right? Now we're in a convertible, but we're on the Sunset Strip. And we have a lot of money and a convertible and really bad judgment. Then in 1980, they're going to break up. Normally bands break up and that's it, right? They just, one of them will break off and they'll do a song or two and they'll start playing the fairs. They'll do the goat rodeos and such, and then they'll sell a few candles at the fair on the last run, and then that'll just be it. Not the Eagles. That's not what they did. They broke up, and each one of them created three basically different hit-making machines. It's unbelievable, the music that comes out of the breakup. First off, the Eagles music, how can anybody be that good at everything? They didn't just play country, they played what was considered popular then, and then they could harmonize as good as anybody. It's just amazing to think how good the Eagles are, and the fact that this may be the last year that you get to see them function as the group that they are. I realize, given the differences that we all understand. Don Henley in the 80s, think about the songs like Dirty Laundry. You could hear that. I'm in the media my whole career. I mean, you kick them when they're up, you kick them when they're down. The Boys of Summer, oh, come on. That is the years that I start driving. That's the year I'm going to the beach by myself. The song Remembers When, thank you, Trisha Yearwood. That group, those guys, they are icons on the mountain of music makers and musicians, singers, songwriters, and the like. All she wants to do is dance? Come on. This is the last worthless evening that you'll ever spend. Now, you ain't a better come on line than that. Then Glenn Fry's over here with the saxophone. I call him Glenn Fly. Glenn Fry's over here with the saxophone. You belong to the city. I mean, that was so cool. Then The Heat Is On. They can hide it up and tell you right. I mean, it's here to stay. Man, the governments in Colombia and Peru, ask any DEA man. Nothing they can do. Joe Walsh does his own thing, and his own thing is just Joe Walsh cool. I don't know why. He's his own thing. I mean, what do we know about Joe Walsh? Well, he's an ordinary average guy. We know that. We also know that his Maserati does 185, and unfortunately, he lost his license, and he can't drive, and that's a shame. I mean, we're lucky he's the same after all this time. Now, I remember, so I was at the CMA Awards show the year they played, because they had a song they were working up the country charts. So they were there, and this was my second year, and I had kind of moved up a little, and I was in a different place in the industry. So I was in a better position in the arena. I was right out front. But a lot of the acts that were playing, I knew. So after their set, I would meet them outside and we would talk about it up on, because they were kind of winding down, so it was fun because I knew what they were going through, so we could laugh and joke about it. and they could kind of relax. Well, we were all standing out there, and the next thing you know, somebody runs out and yells, "The Eagles are on in 3 minutes." And if you've never been to a taping of an award show like the CMA award show, you can't just come and go all willy-nilly. That's not how it works. When they're on commercial break, what they're typically showing for that show, or at least they used to, they show the clips of the old episodes, clips of the old award shows. So really cool clips where you get to see some of your favorite acts of all time accepting their awards. So really good material to watch during the breaks. But when they're coming back on live, people notice you never see people just milling about, because you don't. You stay seated. You don't move until we're in commercial break. So you can miss, if you stay outside and you're talking with everybody, you'll miss a whole segment, but then you can just come back in on that next segment. So we frequently would do that. Well, in this particular segment, a lady runs out and she says, "Hey, the Eagles are on in 3 minutes, get back inside." So everybody runs back inside and gets their space. And they come out, and it was just amazing. Everything in the room changed. You could feel it. And I'm in a room full of musicians, writers, producers, serious musicians. I mean, every one of those people, just like me, are in awe. We just stop, because this is bigger than no one's talking. This is bigger than a band. This is a moment, and it's a moment in country music history. It's a moment in American music history. Later on, Vince Gill, who's a guy we've all worked with in the country music business, who's a super gifted musician. No one will argue that. But what most people don't know about Vince Gill is he's a really funny guy. He's just not a personality that will try to own the room. But when he speaks, you wind up laughing, and he winds up owning the room. He just doesn't have to be boisterous about it, which is very cool. I used to work for the Nashville Predators, and so I'd come down on the ice, and he always sat right on the glass. So I'd always be like, because he knew I worked over at the station, but he would always be like, "Hey, bud," I'd be like, "Hey, Vince." Always so good to see him, and he's always in such a good mood. Or at least he's really good at putting that forward. Listen, that's part of life, isn't it? He does a wonderful job. He knows he's not Glenn Frey. He's not trying to be. He's honoring the music, and he's honoring the experience, man. He's just that he gets it. He's no fool. He knows how big this is. Like when I talked to Glenn Campbell about sitting in with the Beach Boys for a time. He knew how big that was. Like, that's a really big thing. Being a part of the Eagles, even just as an aftermention, that's huge. Not like he needed to be cemented in musical history. Still very, very cool. The songs these guys put out sort of felt they felt like craftsmanship in an era of interesting musical choices. There was a lot of trying to find, especially because, they span so many decades, but there was a lot of trying to find themselves. Not the band, but music was trying to find itself. And the band was molding around that and just sort of driving the energy in their direction. It's unbelievable. Don Henley, one of the most distinctive voices ever. Glenn Frey could sit down at lunch and write you a song. And Joe Walsh, he's Joe Walsh. He's an original. And just when you think they don't have another trick in the bag, let them stop and sing Seven Bridges Road and watch the entire arena shut up and listen. Amazing. Everything about this group is spiritual. It's an experience, and you'll never forget it. Don says, listen, this is the end. They added a few extra shows at the Sphere. You never know with bands. That could change 15 minutes later when somebody needs some money. I don't know if there'll be a reunion tour, and I don't care. I know right this very minute they're getting long in the tooth. And you know how I know that? Because I'm getting long in the tooth. So I can imagine they probably get tired of seeing the same 4 or 5 people, 10 people all the time. Maybe they want to get home and spend time with their loved ones. You know what Don wants to do? Don Henley wants to go home and grow vegetables. Spend time with his family, have a big garden. Okay, you sold that many records? He wants to be a tomato farmer. Let the man make tomatoes. Want to have some pasta? Man's going to have tomatoes. I love that. We'll have a tomato sandwich. If that's what you want to do, grow tomatoes, then by God, by all means. If I decide to grow tomatoes tomorrow and he decides to grow some too, well, his are probably going to be better. Probably going to be a lot better. You'll eat them and all of a sudden you could sing. Mine you'll eat and you'll be behind on your rent by 3 months. The whole point in all of this is my heart's kind of broken that we've come to the end of an era. These songs that I heard on the radio, these songs that I grew up with, they've been played at weddings, whether I'm driving home. I've rarely turned down an Eagles song. They've worn a few out in my lifetime, but I rarely, when I hear an Eagles song, I'm probably going to turn it up. They've been a part of everything in my life. I don't know that I'm ready to let that go. I mean, I will, but I don't think I'm ready for it. It's like when a great restaurant closes, right? You know the building's still over there. You're going to drive over and you're going to think about how it tasted. And you're going to remember the emotions that are attached to it. You'll remember the smells. You'll remember how it felt when you went in. All of that is tied into the Eagles. And I know that now they're stopping the touring. I still have the music. Statistically speaking, they sold enough records till most of us should have probably one lying around or have had over the years multiple copies of Eagles music. And again, like I said earlier, your parents probably have it, or you could just tell your phone to play it. It's pretty good. And if it is the end of the road, I'm just glad I got a chance to be on the planet during this time. This was a good time musically to see what I've seen. I grew up in the 70s. I was here for the outlaw movement, the disco movement, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and I'm still here. Thank you for your time today. I hope you have a great weekend. My name is Bud Ford. I'm at Bud Ford Comedy. Leave a message if you'd like. Share, follow, subscribe. Thank you.